thank you so much for coming on channel 27. And also, please, if you have not checked out his YouTube channel, please do. I mean, make sure you subscribe. I'm telling you, if you want to learn Vedic astrology, you need to subscribe to his YouTube channel, period. Okay. And it's in the description box. I'm also going to pin it to the comments. So thanks so much for coming back here. It's always so wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Heidi. It's such a pleasure to be here. Every session we do together is so much fun. Astrocartography, gems, and now getting into the Rahu and Ketu Nakshatras is really exciting. When we did the first session, it really got my mind thinking about Rahu and Ketu Nakshatras, and I became a little bit obsessed. So I've been doing some research from different lineages from an approach to Rahu and Ketu Nakshatras, and I've prepared some interesting research that we'll touch on today as we're going through the different Nakshatras.
Can't wait. All right, so why don't we get moving and just start rolling on here?
Okay, great. So first we're going to talk about Magha Nakshatra. I'm a big fan of Magha Nakshatra, and we're not going to get too political here right before we get off the bat. But Donald Trump's ascendant nakshatra, Magha Nakshatra, and I always think it's funny, Magha, make America great again, and then Magha, there's basically one letter that's different. So I always thought that was interesting. Now, the combination of energies in Magha Nakshatra is Sun and Ketu. Sun coming from the Leo vibration, but Ketu, the ruler of Magha Nakshatra. So there's a real spiritual, mystical leadership energy that can come up with Magha Nakshatra. The Deva is the Pitris, which are kind of the founding fathers of humanity from a Vedic perspective. They bring karmic influence towards honoring your ancestors, preserving tradition, family pride, and your prestige. And it's really about remembering and honoring your ancestors. But this influence has a strong effect on the Magha Nakshatra, which brings a lot of family prestige and family power. And a lot of people born in this nakshatra from a past lifetime perspective, you know how they talk about karmic circles. So it's like, you know, the karmic circle you travel with from one lifetime to the other. Well, with the Magha Nakshatra, that's a powerful circle that you're traveling with. And there's something that you inherit from one lifetime to the next from traveling with that certain energy of that karmic family, you want to call it. So on a positive note, Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra is really powerful. It can cause someone to become very powerful, very honorable. It will give them high aspirations. So no matter what planet you have in this nakshatra, if you have any planet in this nakshatra, it's going to give you dreams. It's going to give you aspirations. And there's a deep connection to the family. And a deep connection towards one's family members and one's ancestors. And therefore, usually with people in this nakshatra, Rahu and Ketu, the family supports your growth. So people with strong energy in this nakshatra, they usually don't get there without a little help from their family. And sometimes that is even stronger for some people than others. Difficulties, and whenever we have Rahu and Ketu, we're going to deal with some difficulties of that nakshatra. This is a Ketu ruled nakshatra, so it already has a lot of Rahu and Ketu energy to it. But it can cause a lot of stubbornness, especially Rahu in this nakshatra can be very stubborn and kind of develop a superiority complex. You know, I'm better than you and my ideas are right. And that's a stupid idea. How could you have such a stupid idea? Because they can make people feel bad about their ideas because, you know, their everything that comes from them is so great and their shit doesn't stink and so forth. Can be some of the energies. It can even get extreme with Rahu or Ketu in Magha Nakshatra. If these people aren't on a spiritual evolutionary path, they can be bigots and racists. and very superficial, like I'm better because I'm white, or I'm better because I'm a Republican, or whatever that nonsense is.
Hey, let's make it clear. Donald Trump does not have Rahu or Ketu in Magha. He has his ascendant. Okay.
Yeah.
And he has Mars there. So yeah, because it's true. I mean, I think that's where, because when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, people are gonna think like we're sitting.
No, I'm done. No, yeah.
All right, because we did bring him up, but you know how I feel about him. Heidi loves him, so it is what it is. But anyway, next. But yes, I totally agree. It does. It can bring the radicals out for sure, but more so Republican. I noticed for sure Republicans. I noticed like Purva Phalguni tends to be more the other side. Yeah,
that's definitely true. The male rat is the symbol for Magha, is the animal associated with it. And it's focused on the second aim of life, which is artha, prosperity and success. So Rahu can do really good in this nakshatra because it's really focused towards material success and prosperity and everything like that. So there can be a lot of success no matter what the endeavor is in this nakshatra with Rahu. A little bit more difficult Ketu in this nakshatra, but it can still be really successful.
Wait, do you find it? I'm sorry, just you said you find it more difficult with Ketu there.
Yeah.
I agree. Totally agree with you.
I think that Ketu can be a little more difficult, and some of the research I did shows that Ketu does more difficult in that nakshatra. So in each nakshatra, it's divided into 4 sections, right? The individual padas. And so when you get into this advanced nakshatra research, it's so intense because it's not just each nakshatra, but then these little sections of each nakshatra contain specific energy as well. It's the 4th section of this nakshatra, both for Rahu and Ketu, that is considered the most favorable. And for Rahu, people with Rahu and Magha, they're very eccentric. They're very eccentric. They're leaders in one form of another, usually in some form of research or some form of education. So it's really good for leadership on the career side of things. But it's not good for marital success, Rahu and Magha.
Yeah.
And it's also not good for stomach, heart, or skin health.
Yeah, interesting.
Ketu, the difficulties are a little bit different. Again, it's a little stronger in the 4th section, but with Ketu and Magha, okay, here's the issue, is that double Ketu energy. So on one side, this person wants to be a renunciate, which means they don't want to have anything to do with the material world, but then the Leo vibration and the Artha vibration of Magha makes the person want to make money. So they're basically really, what's the word? They're kind of twisted. They're not sure which path in their life to take. So it's more of a conflict for people with Rahu in this nakshatra. They're kind of happy with that energy of the focus on the material. But with the double Ketu energy, there's too much of a conflict there. They might become kind of like addicted towards certain things. They can be more compulsive. Some of the research I showed, there's gambling addiction with Ketu and Magha nakshatra.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely addictions for sure, because it's like the moksha, letting go, loss. It's like a double loss. They don't give a shit. Just get me out of here. It's type. Let everybody that I know, especially if it's their ascendant. I know a few people that have that, and they really struggle.
Yeah, I wrote that and thought that it's a push towards renunciation because focusing on the material doesn't work out for them. It's kind of like that old saying, money can't buy happiness. Yeah,
I agree. That's interesting, because you would think ruled by Ketu, oh, it's going to do great there, right? And you would think it would just sometimes it's like the reverse,
I think Rahu in the nakshatra is good for like your typical kind of leader, like a CEO, like boss, kind of manager, someone owns their own online business or something. and Ketu in that nakshatra can use that energy to maybe become a very powerful artist of some kind. So maybe there's more of a potential with Ketu in that nakshatra of a creative or artistic energy, more mystical, more spiritual.
Yeah. And I know a ton of people that have Rahu, like a Rahu, Mars, Saturn and stuff conjunct. Actually, I did 1 week. I had like 3 people of readings. My friend has this. If you were born in 1980, I think it's 1980, you have kind of this heavy conjunction of Rahu, Mars, Saturn conjunct. And I'm pretty sure that's the year. And it's intense. And it's like, that can make somebody literally a hothead, just create like fly off the deep end type of stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But then I've also noticed like military, a lot of people that come out of the military too, will have Rahu or maybe mainly Rahu once again, Ketu doesn't, it's more, just sit back. I'll sit back and watch. Yeah.
Yeah, because of that spiritual leadership energy too. Sometimes people with Rahu or Ketu and Magha, they can be very magnetic in terms of people being attracted to them and their beliefs. Like it's totally like a cult leader kind of energy.
Yes. Really.
With Rahu in Nakshatra, you could have really large masses of people having a cult following of you. But with Ketu and Nakshatra, it's more like a spiritual following, like, or it wouldn't be quite as like mass, it probably wouldn't like also you might have like with a Rahu in Magha, you'll have a spiritual following, but you're going to make money off of that spiritual following, know?
Ketu, you're just going to give shit away for free and then you're going to be broke,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And a lot of things I read about Ketu in this nakshatra, poverty and stuff like that. More difficulty with money.
Yep. I have my Mercury in Magha. That's why I'm a little obnoxious sometimes. But it's like, it's all about, but Magha is more too, I would say, out of all the Leo nakshatras, I don't find that, and we're going to talk about them obviously, but it seems like Magha is not as obnoxious as some of the other ones. Like Purva Phalguni is kind of the more obnoxious one.
Yeah. Well, because of Ketu's element, I think in Magha, on some level, there's an ego thing that comes up, but it's also like working on the ego, like refining the ego.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's nice.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
So Purva Phalguni.
Yes, I get a lot of people with Purva Phalguni ruled by Venus.
This is the position of my Ketu.
Oh, that's funny.
In the 7th house.
My son, this is my son. Yeah, in the 4th or in the 10th, in the 4th. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So it's got a Sun Venus energy, Purva Phalguni. It has a special spiritual power of creation. It can create almost anything. The deity which is associated with it there's 2 deities. One is Magha. He's like the god of fortune, success, growth. So having certain energy in this nakshatras can be very fortunate or successful. As Heidi mentioned, that doesn't always bode well for the personality of the individual or some of their difficulties, but it does bode very well for their success and prosperity and fortune. It brings karmic success. Is the energy of this god. And then also the Shiva Lingam. The Shiva Lingam, one of the most divine symbols in all of Hinduism. And it creates incredible growth in terms of materiality, companionship, and an overall enjoyment of life. The Shiva Lingam, it's a representation of both the union of masculine and feminine energies. People who have the positive side of having maybe Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, people with Rahu in this nakshatra, they can be very energized. They can have a lot of energy. They can be very determined. They can be very successful. It's also said that it creates an attractiveness. Any planet in this nakshatra means the opposite sex will be attracted to you. And that kind of comes from the energy of the Shiva Lingam, which is that energy of Shiva and Shakti. So there is this influential, attractive, sweet energy that can come from the person with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra. The difficulties is they can be very over-sexualized, especially if Rahu's in Purva Phalguni.
Yeah.
They can also be very indulgent. Both Rahu and Ketu can be hedonistic in this sign, which means they're pleasure seekers and they might prioritize pleasure above other things. That can also cause Rahu and Ketu, with Ketu in this nakshatra, vanity, and with Rahu in this nakshatra, narcissism. And and both of them kind of have an addictive, compulsive energy, like pleasure-seeking energy when it comes to Purva Phalguni. But it's considered favorable for Rahu and Ketu as far as their position based on Shubhakaran. And that means it doesn't matter which quarter it's in, but it does pretty well in all of the quarters. And that's kind of rare. So it's really good when that happens. Yeah. It's good for intelligence and self-made success when Rahu is in this nakshatra. So when Rahu is in this nakshatra, the person is usually smart, successful, and a self-made success. We talked about sometimes others make our success for us, not as much when Rahu's in Purva Phalguni. There's something that I read in one of the texts, and it said, when Rahu is in Purva Phalguni, your employer wants you so bad. Your employer wants you so bad. So again, it's almost, we talked about the Shiva Lingam. It's almost like your employer has a desire for you. Not that that's sexual, but a strong desire for you. Because you're going to fulfill their needs, and their needs is you as a person, possibly they don't think anyone else could fulfill those needs. It can almost be a romantic, non-sexual, but romantic relationship between an employer and their employee, which can...
That's very true. Yep. Oh my God, yeah.
Which could... Yeah, and that can end really badly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Actually, you're 100% right. And I've noticed a lot of people that have Venus, not to bring this up, but like, I know we're not talking about this, but Venus or Jupiter, like in the 5th house or something, this will be when people are like, prostitutes, oversexed in certain things. So this nakshatra can get you into trouble for sure.
People with Rahu in this nakshatra, once they become interested in someone romantically or sexually, they become obsessed. That's all they can think about, and they will not be satisfied until they get what they want, regardless of the level of interest that the other person has. With Ketu, it's more like they'll see someone, and with Ketu and Purva Phalguni, and they'll fall deeply in love with that person. And if that person's not interested in them, then they go into a deep depression for many months and feel the tragedy of life and everything. I've been there. I told you this is my Ketu nakshatra. So yeah, they can go into that place with the partner. When also with Rahu in this nakshatra, there's a vulnerability to infidelity. Usually Rahu in this case, depending on the position, of course, whether the person is likely to be the cheater or to be cheated on, but both possibilities, whether it's in the 1st or the 7th house, right? But we can see that's a vulnerability. Ketu is good in this nakshatra, especially in the first 2 quarters. It increases incredible intelligence, and it also supports an affinity for religious or spiritual places. like sacred places, like spiritual pilgrimages and things like that. People will go to different places of, spiritual significance, and some people will get nothing out of it, and some people will get the most out of it. But people with Ketu and Purva Phalguni, that Venus Sun energy with Ketu, it's kind of like they can really have a mystical experience if they go to a mystical place.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
One thing I told you that was interesting we were going to mention is something called Fateful Degree. So Fateful Degree is Shubhakaran. He's a Vedic astrologer from India. I'm not sure he's still alive. He's not really producing anymore, but he did write lots of books in the 80s and 90s. And Fateful Degree is basically if your Ketu or Rahu falls at a specific degree.
Is it the fourth pada? I have that in my notes, that you can die early.
Yes.
My son's in that. Okay, so I didn't know it was called that, but in my notes, there are specific nakshatras that have, you could just break it to me. It's okay. So my son is pada 4. And I remember when I saw that once, I was like, holy shit, because it says you can die really early, dies young age.
Yeah.
So look, that's why you bring this up.
Yeah. So Fateful Degree, it's like kind of like some intense karmic event that you're paying off from your past lifetime. But it's a very specific degree. So it's 10.4 degrees into the nakshatra. So Leo is 13. So it's from degrees 23 and a half, about 23.4. So if for some reason someone's Purva Phalguni is in Leo 23.4, that could be inauspicious. And there is some very specific things that you can do, like gemstones, mantras, certain fastings, certain lifestyle practices, that if you have this, don't go jump off of a bridge. You know what I mean? Like it's right. Okay. It's okay. There are things you can do. That's why astrologers notice those things. So you can have remedy to have a normal life if you have this. But if you or someone has this energy in your chart, it is important to take certain spiritual precautions, and not because we're fear-based, but just because it can't hurt to take those precautions, right?
Right. Okay, I have to say this now because I've been on a kick where I've been obsessed with watching planes. Okay, planes crash. Watched every documentary. I'm on this whole thing with, like, a couple months ago, it was crimes. Now it's plane crashes. Okay. And I'm not scared to get on planes. I like turbulence and everything. One thing I've noticed, Purva Phalguni, that nakshatra is very triggered with plane crashes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you had Ketu in this nakshatra, you could assume you could have
I'd be dead.
Yeah. Or in a past lifetime, maybe you already did have unexpected death, and that's why you have this fear in this lifetime, which might not be rational.
Right. So so my son's in that fourth. So son's vitality? Let's talk about this. I'm going into my son Dasha. Bring it on. What do you think? Am I going to die?
No, I don't think is your sun at 23.4 degrees?
No, it's at 26.28.
Okay, so you're good. You passed the fateful degree there. But again, depending on the planet, the fateful degree is different. So for Rahu, the fateful degree is 24. But for Ketu, it's much earlier. It's in the third pada.
Got it.
I think these things, you could really, what does it exactly mean? I'm not sure, but here's something. Ketu will eventually go through this point of the nakshatra, in the transit. Rahu will go through their tragic degree. So you're supposed to not drive, not fly, not leave your house, not take any walks, not go ice skating, not go skiing or snowboarding. Just take it easy.
Yeah, just trap yourself in your house and call it a day. Okay, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and it's interesting if you look at tragic events which take place, all these horrible events that take place, the shootings, the bombings, there could be fateful degrees involved, and a lot of times there are fateful degrees involved.
You're right. That's what I like to study. We should do a show on that once, like like a case study. Yeah.
That's really good research.
Let me tell you something, because even just recent plane crashes that just happened, I also noticed there's a nakshatra in Capricorn that causes that there can be some people that could be in a plane crash, because there was the plane crash that happened. There was 4 realtors together, all on a plane, and they all, they went down in California like a month ago or 2 months ago. And I looked up all their charts because their nakshatras are going to stay the same minus their moon, right? So, and they were all born different years, different age groups, but they all had the same nakshatras. It was crazy. Like, it was really nuts. So this is what I've been doing, so
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's why I can pin down when there's going to be plane crashes. I swear I have it down. I think I have it down to a science.
Yeah. I like to, it'd be good to do that with plane crashes. It'd be good to do that with assassinations.
Yeah.
Different things that go wrong, you can totally see, I'm sure there's some dark energy aligning for that moment.
Because I do believe you can watch out for it. So say that is in your chart. Yes. Like, if that day the moon is in that nakshatra, like on something serious in your chart, yeah, don't leave your house. Why not? Or do something to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Don't go on any public transportation. All right. Like that, those kind of things.
Yeah. And don't sign any contracts and don't make any big decisions.
Here we go. Yeah. No, it's true though.
So Uttara Phalguni takes place Leo 26 to Virgo 10. So it acts very differently depending on what side of the cusp it's on there, if it's on the Leo side or the Virgo side. But on the Leo side, like the last 4 degrees of Leo, the sun is in an extremely powerful position there. It's not technically exalted, but it's like a mula tricona. It's like a partial exaltation. So because of all the sun energy, it's just sun. It's double sun on that Leo side. As it gets more in Virgo, it gets more of a Mercury vibration.
Yes.
It's got a spiritual power of success and prosperity through unification and unifying things like marriage. And actually, Shiva and Shakti were born under were married under this nakshatra. Shiva was married under this nakshatra. So it's very significant for the success and prosperity that takes place after we kind of find our partner or have that. And this is a very traditional way of looking at things, but still, it has some energy about how we relate to others. The Deva is Aryaman. He activates a karma of nobility, society, leadership, and honor. So it's kind of a very societal Deva and has to do with nobility and success within society. Aryaman is said to help all that are in need and all that need support. And that Mercury Virgo vibration is very like of service and helpful. So there's a strong karma of this nakshatra of like being of service, being of help, helping those who need help, giving where there needs to be giving, where people need support. So people who are born in this nakshatra are very supportive and friendly and generous. And it does support success in marriage and partnership. Maybe not if Rahu and Ketu are placed there, but in general, for the most part. And actually, it does say that marital success is possible, but it does kind of support Uttara Phalguni of an alternative approach to the relationship. Maybe not a traditional approach. Maybe it's like, 2 people have been together for 10 years, but let's not do the legal side of things, kind of avoid that energy. But as long as the monogamous commitment is made, I mean, that's some of the energy of the success after partnership is when two people make that agreement together.
I've noticed that this merges families a lot. So like, or somebody will be attracted to somebody that has kids a lot. They'll meet somebody that's a little older, that have kids or something off the,
Definitely. It's like, and the reason that is we can talk about the challenges of this energy, but they attract someone with kids because guess what? Kids needs taken care of. One of the real positive energies of this nakshatra is like, let's take care of something, but like that can be totally out of balance.
Yeah. Right.
And so they're attracted to someone with kids because those kids need a father, those kids need a mother, It's like that kind of mentality that it actually can create. But people in this nakshatra, they like to be needed. Yep. They want, and I think we all want to be needed, but it's like, it feels really good for them to be of service. And if they're not able to help someone, sometimes they're spinning out in their head. They're like, we got to, I need somebody to care for. I need someone to support. I need someone to care for me. So, but they're very kind, warm, compassionate. There's a nurturing energy. They can be very well educated and successful. They're natural leaders, especially on the Leo side of things. Lots of spiritual growth and potential. And as we mentioned, marriage success. But the downside of that, especially this shows up with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra. Ketu does a little bit better in this nakshatra. Rahu does very difficult in this nakshatra. And I think like people with Rahu in this nakshatra, and some of the downsides of this is we feel kind of empty without our partners, which means our whole meaning of life is based on our partners. So if our partner's feeling good, we're feeling good. But if our partner's sad, then we're ready to go jump out the window. So you don't want your well-being so deeply connected to someone else's well-being, because then, you have no stability, you have no groundedness yourself. Right. This can be very difficult. So it's codependency. Rahu and Ketu, both in this nakshatra, can cause codependency. Ketu ultimately will get past that codependency. Rahu might not be so keen to. And self-sacrificing, which means I love you so much. I did all these things for you. And what did you do for me?
Yeah. No, it's so true. This nakshatra I've noticed is the hardest nakshatra to not be like, this is a pushover. Sometimes this can be the person that's the pushover that gets especially a woman that's needy, that needs all, and then gets burned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because ultimately, it's not to an unhealthy level of neediness. It's not attractive to anybody. I mean, except maybe another Uttara Phalguni person.
Right. Or I've noticed people are dependent on somebody else's money, or dependent, like a woman can be dependent on something else where she doesn't want to work and she's just lazy and doesn't want to do things herself. So she'll marry somebody for money, or marries, you know what I mean? Like that type of, especially in Leo, I've noticed. Now the Virgos side is the hustlers, I've noticed. Like the Virgo side tends to be more like, the hard workers that work like a maniacs, that do manual work too, with their hands, or drive trucks or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said earlier. It can come up as the desperate housewife syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be with somebody with money. That's so true.
Or it can show, and also they might be attracted to somebody who is not completely whole, so that they're needed more, so they can be attracted to unhealthy relationships. And stubborn. The animal is a bull, so there's a stubbornness which can come up. Like you said, both, especially on the Virgo side, but there's a lot of working service mentality, good worker, hard worker. Because of the service orientation, it's best if they work in nonprofit or social work, some type of work that allows them to help others, people who are needy. Better that you go and actually help someone who's needy than to attract an unhealthy, needy relationship. So it's good that they have a career or work, which supports that. Also, they're good in writing. They're good in technology fields. This is a nakshatra which is associated with healing. But it's a very more scientific or intellectual approach to healing. And Virgo, on the Virgo side of it, is Utvachaya, self-improvement. So that's like healing, but they're also trying to better themselves, kind of like the self-help kind of person.
Right. Back to Purva Phalguni, Rahu, I've noticed people that have hit the lottery, they got really lucky. And, and it's funny because once again, I saw this thing and it said, oh my God, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
What was it?
Light thunder. That was so loud. Oh my God. That was the scariest. Okay. I've got Uranus in the first house. I'm petrified of lightning and thunder. So, anyway, so, and now that I know my son's in Purva Phalguni, fourth pada. Oh God. All right. So anyway, but I have noticed and this guy goes, well, if you are in a plane crash, you should go play the lottery that day, because if you survive a plane crash, and he said, because if you, I know somebody that one of the documentaries where he hit the lottery after he was in a plane crash, but it's just weird. That particular nakshatra, and there was Rahu there. So weird.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The fateful degree does show something. There's no fateful degree for Rahu or Ketu in Magha, and there's no fateful degree for Rahu or Ketu in Uttara Phalguni. So how bad could they be? And even though Rahu and Ketu is a very good position for Purva Phalguni, that's where the fateful degree is. So that's what you're talking about, how the person, they almost die in a plane crash, but then they win the lottery. It's like, well, that specific area, it's like, well, it's all really positive and successful if you can just make it past this one point where the challenge is the greatest.
Yeah. Oh. But Uttara Phalguni, I do notice that's a good nakshatra that comes out hard workers, people that always have this mindset of karma, depending on if it's jaded or not, because sometimes Rahu can make it a little jaded, but I would say that, or Ketu. I mean, I've seen Ketu do jaded things as well, so I will say though, this nakshatra tends to be there's this past life karmic thing where they think in their head, I have to do the karmic right thing. They are helpers because they think they know it's going to pay off, and they're just born with that.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I wanted to say with Rahu in Uttara Phalguni, it's difficult for material success. A lot of times it can be difficult but it's not difficult for material success, but it's difficult to have material success in a traditional kind of way. It does suggest, even in some of the texts that I read, that material success is strongest with Rahu and Uttara Phalguni when you're willing to have that material success by unconventional or unlawful means.
Yeah.
So if you're not so for someone in Rahu and Uttara Phalguni, they should work in marijuana. They should work in alcohol. They should work with tobacco. They should work in these kind of fields that are more unconventional. Also mysticism, astrology, in addition to the nonprofit, especially if Rahu is in Uttara Phalguni, they should really be open to making money, not just in a normal traditional kind of way.
Yeah.
Ketu, I like in this nakshatra. The first pada I know is especially favorable. It's really interested in the occult and the esoteric. Like the people with Ketu and Uttara Phalguni, like they're really into everything outside of the box, whether it's astrology, palm reading, tarot cards, all of that. And they actually have potential skill in astrology. A lot of good astrologers might have Ketu and Uttara Phalguni. Rahu is also a good astrologer in Uttara Phalguni. Maybe that's one of the unconventional ways that the Rahu and Uttara Phalguni person makes money. But one thing that you mentioned that I wrote, Ketu and Uttara Phalguni, a lot of my research shows there's car accidents. So if you have Ketu and Uttara Phalguni, maybe find another way of getting to work.
Oh, walk. Oh God. Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. So bringing some moon energy into things, we switch to Hasta Nakshatra, which is Virgo 10 to 23. This kind of has a Mercury moon vibration and the spiritual power of manifestation. So this is a really, and same with the next nakshatra, Chitra, these people with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra, as well as the next one we're going to talk, they can manifest. They have the power to want something and to manifest that. So you have to be careful. Is that white magic or is that dark magic? You know, is what we want to manifest best for everyone, or is it just best for you?
My Venus is in Hasta. Oh God.
Good. So you can manifest a lot of things materially, romantically, if you want to.
But then destroy them too. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And also Venus is debilitated in Hasta Nakshatra.
Yep.
The Deva is Savitar, the sun god of transformational and creative energy. And this is where that manifestation energy comes from, because Savitar's energy, which is the power to create whatever we want and manifest whatever we desire. And so Savitar gives this power to people who have this nakshatra. So it's like a special gift from the sun god, which is really beautiful. And it also supports energies of healing and medicine and upachaya, which is self-growth, self-evolution. Positive energies of this nakshatra, especially Rahu is good in this position. Actually, some people consider Rahu's natural nakshatra to be Hasta. In other words, the Mercury energy of Hasta has a lot to do with the Rahu vibration. But again, that's debatable. Some people think Rahu's natural sign is Aquarius. So some people think it's Virgo. So there's a debate within that as far as
honestly, your opinion, I think it does way better in Aquarius. Yeah. I think Rahu because Virgo doesn't like unexpected shit. Okay. Because I hated when Rahu was in my 11th. The only good thing that came out of it was this. I started doing YouTubes. That's when all this happened. But besides that, I mean, it was like a nightmare. Mm-hmm. A relationship. And I'll never forget, Joni Patry says, Rahu, you're going to meet somebody that sweeps you off your feet. She was like spot on, right? But it was sweep the rug from under my feet.
Yeah. I was going to say, someone who sweeps you off your feet and then drops you on the floor.
It drops you right on the floor. It's so true, though. I mean, it's such a mixed bag with Rahu and Ketu. It's so hard to say. You know, it's like, yeah, you get this, but it's going to do something. It's like Rahu comes a success with a price. Mm-hmm. You know, it always does. But I've noticed that Rahu in this can be definitely there's just more issues. I've noticed Ketu in this is more healers, more, you know, Ayurvedic medicine people that are like Reiki masters, all that stuff, like natural healers. I mean, straight up healers.
Yeah, because the good energies of this nakshatra make someone very smart, very creative, good with speech, They're skilled in writing, math, language. They have a pure mind. They're very self-disciplined. Rahu does worse in this nakshatra because the Hasta energy is very pure. And Rahu kind of muddles it up when the energy of Ketu allows it to stay more pure. And also the negative side, which can definitely come with both of these nakshatras, Ketu in this nakshatra, Rahu in this nakshatra, but Ketu is a very fragile, sensitive mind, hypersensitive, fragile mind. So they may be, they have to be very careful of their mental balance, because maybe they could have something like bipolar or manic energy in its most extreme form. And then the Rahu in this nakshatra can be very obsessive compulsive, like OCD, and they're both very dramatic in this nakshatra. It's because of that Mercury moon vibration. It's kind of a dramatic nakshatra. And they're both maybe vulnerable to manipulate you to get what they want, using emotion.
And I will say this, another thing I've noticed is Rahu and Ketu in this can be like boxers, fighters, people that do anything with hands. And it can be like, also, I know a couple people that have Rahu or Ketu in this that were in jail for theft or selling drugs, you know, because there is a dark side to it. Like they got in trouble for something like that because it's real clever shit, you know. Ketu and Hasta can be real clever.
Yeah, definitely. Their cleverness was something that came up. And you said working with hands. That's something that I found in my research too, that it's really good for education, but not law, medicine, or business, but like trade school, which is like engineering, plumbers, electricians, like construction workers, like you said, working with your hands. It's good for employment in those kind of trade industries. But like you also said, these people have a real immoral or unethical temptation side to them with Rahu in this nakshatra. They're very vulnerable to stealing. Stealing Billy over here. So they can have a temptation to, that thing over there, no one's going to notice if I take it.
Right.
That happens, and they can be vulnerable to that. And then there's a fateful degree at 13. The 13th degree of this nakshatra, which is right. Which is, so you have to be careful if Rahu is in this nakshatra, especially at the 13th degree, which would be at Virgo 23. So right in the last pot of there.
Okay, there were a couple plane crashes in Hasta too, now that I'm thinking about it. So Virgo, and it's Mercury, Virgo, Mercury's planes, accidents. Yeah, you're so, because I think of that degree, like it's going to be some dramatic, like boom, accident too. Okay, that's like, you would think something, not like all of a sudden this person, you know, gets some illness. It's more of like a sudden boom. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Like I feel like there would be an accident that day, and then the people that had that in their chart would be likely to be a part of that accident.
Yeah, like a freak accident, like in that limo. Like we should look up that limo that just happened in New York. How weird is that's pretty crazy. Like, you know, I guarantee they have some correlations like that.
Like you said, Ketu is a little more spiritual in this nakshatra, a little more pure, but they have health problems. People with Ketu and Hasta. And it also says that it can show that if you work in this nakshatra, that you'll have a lot of growth with whatever organization you work for, but you have to work from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And then that's a fateful degree of 12, which is also in the last pada of the nakshatra. So with Rahu and Ketu and Hasta, the first two padas are a little more safer. As you get closer to the fourth pada, it's a little more dangerous.
Yeah. And I've noticed actually Ketu and Uttara Phalguni, or Ketu and Hasta, maybe the first two padas, a lot of people that are in the paper business, like paper contracts, documents, they hate it. They hate it, but they have to like, audit things and do that, work behind the desk. And a lot of people that process loans in my mortgage company and stuff had Hasta. It was weird. And then people that are really good at looking and analyzing things like a K2 and Hasta, I think, makes a phenomenal astrologer because it's an investigator times two. Because Hasta is a really good investigator. They're good at being like picking shit out. Like that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I like what you said, and I like what you said also, that it's like they might find themselves doing that work, but it doesn't mean that they love it.
No.
I think Hasta work with Rahu and Ketu is like, that's really enjoyable. Like on the Ketu side, it has to be more spiritual, mystical, or occult, like you said, astrology or one of the Vedic sciences or some kind of Reiki or healing methodology of some kind. With Rahu, like we talked about, it's good if they're working with their hands, if they're working in trade, electrician, plumber, construction. Also, because of that Virgo vibration, probably not as strong with Rahu because the intelligence is hurt a little bit, but it's good for working in education and academics. So like it's perfect for being a math teacher. And it's good for communication, like working in communications, self-help.
Can I ask you a question? This is totally off topic. So my Venus is in Hasta, and I just thought of something like James Braha. I just watched a video and he said Venus is math a lot of the times. I've never heard that until I heard that from him. And then you think about it, and then I have Venus in Hasta. I am the worst at math. But you know what's really funny? I watched this documentary on Vedic math and how they teach it there. When I watched that, I could do math.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that strange? Have you ever seen that? The Vedic math, they do it really like how Indians teach like people math. It's totally different. And it made more sense to me. It sounds a little confusing, but I'm like the worst in math. I see numbers, I'm good with numbers, but I'm not good at like putting them together.
Yeah. Well, Venus in Hasta, it's like, instead of doing math, it wants to make the numbers look pretty.
You're damn right about that. I always say my Virgo, like the Virgo that I have, this is how I knew I was not a Virgo. I don't like to go outside and like walk around in the earth. Okay. I kill plants. I had a cactus. I have a cactus and I think it's dead. Like I'm so not earthy at all. And that's my debilitated Venus. Like that's what it is. Yeah. And I'm more worried about looks. Like I've noticed a debilitated Venus in Virgo, they're the ones that are going to just be a little more material and a little more into, they don't care about like the health stuff nearly as much, like the oils or anything. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It really can screw up Virgo, like from that perspective, but it's good. I think it's good for money, like financially, because it makes you more focused on that.
And it's interesting that Venus is debilitated there, but Mercury is exalted there.
Yeah.
So if you have Mercury in that position, then you might be Albert Einstein when it comes to math, although his Mercury was in Pisces, which was debilitated. So who the hell knows?
But wasn't it in Revati? So I think it was in Revati. So, and that's ruled by Mercury. So I don't know, because this is, once again, let's prove that Western astrology, I have the sun, I have Mercury in Virgo, exalted. No, I don't. I can tell you, I don't have that.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely would be able to do math if you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm a calculator chick, that's for sure. Now, but I was a loan officer. So believe it or not, I did mortgages and I do, so it's funny because, I learned it I have to, like you do it so you have to, but that's what calculators are for.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not to take us off the topic, but have to ask when I have your brains on here. I got to take a bit.
I'm always happy to help. And I think Venus and Hasta, it can act more like Rahu and Hasta than Ketu and Hasta.
Totally agree on that one. Yeah.
So bringing some Mars energy into our discussion for the first time, we look at Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra is on the Virgo side, Mercury and Mars, and on the Libra side, Venus and Mars. And both of these energies act very differently depending on what side they're on. So, because the Mercury and Venus vibrations are very different. Chitra Nakshatra has a spiritual power to grow and collect good karmic credit. Wouldn't we all like to have that? So people who have very highly dignified Chitra Nakshatra, they have really good karma. And people who have really difficult positions in Chitra Nakshatra, they might have some really challenging karma. The Deva, the Lord of Chitra, is Vishakha, the divine architect. And I always love, this is one of my favorite gods, the divine architect, because I like to think of that idea like the Matrix, like the architect who creates everything. And when you're the architect, you're also creating the illusion. You're also creating Maya. And Maya, or illusion, is a deep theme within the life of the Chitra individuals. And it's one of the most mystical, and it's one of the most spiritual nakshatras. So Ketu and Rahu in this nakshatra, they can be very spiritually or mystically oriented. It activates a karma of the exploration of Maya, which means you're going to question reality. You're going to question the way, especially Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra. They won't just question reality, but they'll tell you that you're an illusion. That the reality that you think a reality is not the reality, that you're living in a big, bad joke. Especially Rahu and Chitra. They're like, your life is a joke, you don't understand, and all the conspiracy theories, and then really start coming with you, but it does, I really appreciate this nakshatra. What is real and what isn't? What is illusion and what is reality? These are the kind of questions that people with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, they want to understand the true nature of reality. People with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra on the positive side are like attractive, intelligent, beautiful. Chitra means shining, brilliant. So it's like very beautiful. They're enthusiastic in energy. That comes from Mars. And they're magnetic. Yes. And they're skilled in the arts, and they're very passionate. And they're also skilled in illusion. These people with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra are the best magicians that exist. They'll be able to do some kind of trick and, oh my God, I can't believe it. Is that real? Is that real? Now, of course, odds are it was probably an illusion, but you might experience it as being real. Yep.
Also, stand-up comedy people, I've noticed, like people that are smart asses, that are funny, they can cut to the chase. Mm-hmm. I've noticed Chitra comes out of there a lot, like very sarcastic, especially Rob.
Yeah, and I feel like that's, in a sense, also questioning the nature of reality. Like, what's funny? Like, this sham that we're living in, and just like pointing out all the little weird things of life that just make it seem like an illusion. Like, the best comedian, like George Carlin, like, he was always just pointing out the illusions of life and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
People with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, because of Mars, if Pitta energy is in balance, the personality can really suffer. People with Rahu in this nakshatra are hypersexual, like very sexually driven, like manipulative, seductive, like stubborn, arrogant, and they don't necessarily care about other people's feelings, and they can be brash or blunt. There was even something I read, it says, someone with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, they'll say something, they immediately regret saying it, and it's too late for them to take back their words.
Yeah.
So that's the dark side of it. But because of that illusion, people with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, they can be magicians, they can be illusionists, they can work with gems or jewelry. And Ketu in this nakshatra, because of its mystical association, makes for a really good priest, or even a prophet, or some spiritual figure which you're going to follow, or a spiritual leader of some kind. Yeah.
Extremely intelligent, and people that can connect to Akashic records and stuff like that, I've noticed they can just go into those other zones or whatever. I mean, if they're even, legit, I don't know, whatever they could tell a great story, but regardless, just like you said,
Yeah, what's real is the question. But
I know. Yeah.
So if you know that person's a Chitra, just think of it as also don't take it completely for real. Think that there's some aspect of it which is an illusion, like they're not pulling that bunny out of a hat. I'm sorry.
It's like they get your brain working, but it's like then your realist needs to come in and say, okay.
Yeah. But I also like Ketu a little more in this nakshatra than Rahu, because if we talked with Rahu, sometimes it can get very immoral and unethical. And then you bring the Mars energy of Chitra into that. And they can be very materialistic, like very focused on money, and like they can cheat on their wife and drink too much alcohol, do too many drugs, or they're off on some adventure and they're abandoning their family responsibilities.
Yeah.
Ketu, I really like in this nakshatra because it's just so spiritual. It's like just so beautiful. And the last pada of Chitra nakshatra for Ketu, it can show you getting close to spiritual enlightenment, and it's a karmic reward for many past lifetimes of like spiritual growth. So it's supposed to give you success in all of the areas of your life. So that's a very favorable position for Ketu. But because of this energy, with especially on the Venus side of it, if it's on the Libra side of it, even though they might have a lot of success in their life, on the Venus side of Chitra Nakshatra with Rahu or Ketu, it's not really good for marriage.
Yeah.
Although Ketu, that the second marriage can be the one that lasts.
Or maybe even like an unconventional marriage that like you have a partnership, but you're not tied with the papers.
Exactly. Oh, and did I say vulnerability to poison with Ketu and Chitra Nakshatra? That these people, just like it's always something with Ketu. In the last Nakshatra was to avoid vehicles. Now it's to avoid, be careful with poisoning. So we can get poison in tap water. We can get poison through raw meat. We can get poison in heavy metal toxins. But you have to be constantly purifying yourself with Ketu and Chitra. Otherwise, you can get something like, copper poisoning or something weird like that, or E. coli or whatever.
Or you could make them. I'm just sitting here thinking of this woman that I know that's been on my channel. She's got she's a Chitra ascendant, and she's got all these planets in Chitra. I mean, it's amazing. No Rahu or Ketu though, but she likes shiny things. She makes all this natural healing stuff, like, the colostrum stuff, all this stuff. Her name's Sonia. She's amazing. But that's making me think of this because she makes all these different medicines and stuff.
Yeah. People with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra, just like they're vulnerable to poison, it's also a really good energy to make potions, to make antidotes, to make something that would actually reduce the poison. In Ayurvedic medicine, a lot of specific herbs remove poisons from the body. I mean, we know charcoal does that.
Right.
So,
or like rocks. Healing with like the rocks. I always say rocks, but you know what I mean, crystals and stuff. Rocks.
Yeah, it's like a very healing, like magical energy. Like if there's one person that's gonna do psychic surgery on you, it's someone with Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra.
True. Yeah.
Oh, you have a tumor? Well, let me just remove it. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. Same with Satabisha, though. We're not even on that, but I think same for that.
Yeah. Well, I like to hear that because that's my Lagna and Rahu Nakshatra.
Oh, really? That's totally, and same with the poison. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. But making herbs and making health stuff to heal people.
Yeah, yeah. And before I was an astrologer, I was living out in Peru because I wanted to be an ayahuasca shaman, but it just
Okay. Totally, that's a Rahu in that nakshatra, right? I mean, that
yeah,
couldn't describe it anymore.
yeah, yeah. And then I was out there and I was taking the ayahuasca and the planets were talking to me and it kind of pushed me in the direction of astrology.
So funny. I would never take that.
Yeah.
I would be so petrified. I'm so afraid of here, and this is funny because I'm so afraid of losing control, like K2 and Jyeshtha, I guess. Because you want to say no, my K2 is in Anuradha actually, but my Mars is in Jyeshtha, and I'm all about control. So it's like I don't want to lose control. I'm not the type of person that would want to do drugs.
Yeah. And usually with K2 energy, like it's really strong in your first house and everything. Like that ultimately drugs are just a shortcut to something that you should be getting there without the use of drugs, which doesn't mean that using drugs is wrong as long as you realize that it's a shortcut and that it's ultimately not going to get you to where you need to go. So better for you to not even, if you already know that that's not going to benefit you, that you don't need that shortcut, then I don't really encourage anyone to take that road. But you know, Rahu people, they like shortcuts like myself.
Yeah, Rahu's loving that kind of stuff. But who can, I mean, it is what it is. You have to learn your lessons, you know? I mean, you do. But you would think my moon in Revati would make me want to do drugs. Like I would be this big, like, you know, and it's not at all.
Yeah. Probably because been there, done that as far as a karmic perspective in your past lifetimes and everything.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you've probably already done that and realized it doesn't need to benefit you as a soul, maybe not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. To know about Vedic astrology in this particular show. Okay. So you kind of have to have somewhat of a bit of knowledge of Vedic astrology and know what we talk about. I'm going to put your YouTube channel in you're muted. Shit. Sorry. Hold on a second. Because we're talking about something a lot different. This is why I say like, the signs are meaningless when you learn nakshatras. Do you not agree? 100%. I mean, it's like you won't even care about the signs anymore if you learn this. You won't care what this skips like 15 steps if you learn nakshatras.
It's all interrelated too, right? Like so much of the sign influences the nakshatras, and so much of the nakshatras influence the sign.
Yeah, because I was just telling Kṣaṇāti, this was supposed to be such a horrible with Jupiter and Scorpio. And I'm going to tell you, like I've noticed, I know the nakshatras where I'm going to sell homes. Magha, Mula, and actually Ardra, believe it or not. So those nakshatras are the ones that are good for me financially when I write contracts. And Purnavasu sometimes too. But I mean, like you can literally know. Scorpio, and I'm going to tell you. Like, sorry, I just want to put this in here real quick before I forget. Okay, everybody, this is his YouTube channel. And he doesn't have that many subscribers because he goes on Saptarishi's astrology. He goes on that channel, which is well known for Vedic astrology, and he is on there all the time. Unfortunately, his channel is lacking because he's always on there. So, and if you go to his channel, you can see, I mean, I found him from studying Vedic astrology. And when he said he would come on my channel, I was like doing back handsprings. Okay. So I have learned so much through him. You have no idea. We'll just leave it at that. All right.
Thank you, Heidi. That was very touching and sweet.
But it's true. Like I really have learned so. Like that video you did with, I can't even explain to you. So, all righty.
You make me blush. You can make me blush a little bit.
No, it's true. I mean, you know your shit. That's for sure. You do.
Thank you.
In a very nice way. You know, and you know, it's funny. I said yesterday on a show, I was like, I wish I could be an Aquarius. Like I totally do. It's my wannabe sign.
Yeah. But then Parashara says it's the most cursed sign. So.
But so is Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
They say both of us, we're the two most cursed signs.
Yeah. Well, it's working out all right, right?
That's right. That's right. Yep. That's funny. And think about it. I have K2 in Scorpio and you have Rahu in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It is really interesting, that aspect. I think it's really cool. It makes us good to work together.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
All right, so Swati, which my funnel Saturn's in Swati.
Awesome. Saturn is exalted in Swati Nakshatra.
In the 12th house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really powerful. I have to say that's really spiritually powerful. A lot of times with the Swati energy, it ends up ultimately benefiting the person in an incredible way, but it's just a difficult process. It's one of my favorite nakshatras. It has a Venus Rahu vibration. Maybe it's my favorite because of the strong Rahu vibration. It has the spiritual power to move, influence, change, and scatter. That's because it's ruled by Vayu or Vata, the lord of wind, the god of wind. And this wind energy, it has a karma of purification and cleansing. It is good for communication and expression. And it says that the communications of the Swati individual have the power to move someone like a strong wind, like a hurricane, like blow someone over, which means to quickly influence or change their mind. So they're very influential. They have the power to influence others with their speech. It's very independent sign, and it seeks independence, and Ketu and Rahu both want independence in this area. They can be a little more soft-spoken or at least beautiful or sweet with their speech. That's from the Venus influence. And also communication, the power of speech, right? There's a lot to be said with the power of speech. And once you realize that the power of our speech controls and influences every single person then you speak to, well, then that becomes a great power and that becomes a great responsibility. So I think that happens with Swati Nakshatras, like, oh, because I can say this to get what I want, does that really mean I should say it? But they're very sweet and soft-spoken, and they flow like the wind. They flow with the wind with difficult situations and circumstances. Sometimes in their life, the circumstances aren't that great, but they can bend with the wind or move in a way that they have to so they can survive. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it's about the situation is horrible. How can I survive it?
Yep.
But then once and this is very true with Rahu and Ketu there. But then once you survive that situation, there's this great chance for potential of change, success, prosperity. And people in this nakshatra, they're very passionate, intense. They have an intense energy to them, which is awesome. If, I like that. I like people who are have strong energy to them. And it can be very ethical, moral, well-educated, spiritual. It's very well-rounded in a lot of its positive qualities.
Yeah.
When Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, it can bring certain challenges. Selfishness. They can be a little bit selfish sometimes to focus on what they want to get what they want. Right. So they have to avoid that selfish tendency. They can be superficial or materialistic, especially Rahu in this nakshatra. It can be very look in the mirror. How beautiful am I? Oh my God, you just stay infatuated with yourself in the mirror for a half hour, an hour. So that energy can show up. And also addicted and materially focused with that superficial energy. Maybe they don't care about other things, or they're addicted, like hedonistic, like they like their pleasures too much. Yeah. Rahu in this nakshatra is a very difficult position. I believe it's a little because of all the double Rahu energy. It doesn't mean there's not material success. A lot of indications of Rahu and Swati Nakshatra after some difficulties can indicate material success, but it's really difficult for the health because of the double Rahu vibration. It's best in its last pada. And it said in some of my research, it's very good to work with dairy. I know this is very specific. Sometimes this is an interesting opinion. Work with dairy. That also includes gemstones, jewelry, metals, gas, oil, and minerals. So working with precious materials and precious commodities can be very positive. And it's also really good for travel. These people with Rahu and Swati, they are sometimes more successful in business abroad or in business with foreigners than they are with everyone around them, like the majority and everything. So, and it can also show they can be disliked in their country, but they go to another country and they become a celebrity.
Yep. I've noticed that. I actually have a couple famous Indian celebrity friends. I mean, I'm talking like when I met this person, I'm not going to say who he is or whatever. I'll tell you after. But, he found me on LinkedIn. He saw I did Vedic astrology in his chart.
Yeah.
All this. And let me tell you, the dancing is another thing with this. Dancing is good dancers come out of this.
Oh yeah. Cause that Rahu Venus vibration.
Yeah. Right.
Very romantic, seductive.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, this is in my 12th house of like secrets, hidden dancers. I would say like that would be my dream job would be that. Like I have that where I have this like such that going on, but I have Saturn there. Saturn's like all conservative, Saturn makes it I think Saturn balances it out so much. It makes it a little more businessy.
Definitely. And more disciplined and not as party heavy.
Right. Yeah.
But Rahu there is really party heavy.
Yes. Yeah. But I'll say too, Rahu there, the best salespeople you will ever meet. They can sell you freaking anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. They basically can, when it comes to that Venus Rahu, it's like, I'm going to make you think that you need this thing and that you won't be happy without it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually learned this from Dr. Arjun Pai, and he's saying that Swati is like, it's all about you learn and you'll grow through rebellious things, like, foreign things, foreign too. So you said, business abroad too. But for me, I did not connect to regular astrology at all. Yeah. When I sold homes to Indians, it changed my life. That's how I got into this. I had to learn the directions of the door. I had to learn Vatsu. I was like, these people are nuts. What the hell is wrong with them? Right now, now I'm studying it and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's just how it pans out. And that was right on my Saturn return in that same exact 12th house. 12th house is astrology too.
Exactly.
But it was a hell of a freaking transition. That's for my life spun upside down, a spiral of, oh my God, I can't even tell you. It was a mess. It was a mess. And that's good old Swati.
Yeah. Like the wind, you're swept from underneath your feet. Like the carpet is pulled underneath you.
Yes.
But when things settle after that, they're usually better than they were before the carpet was pulled out. So it does create a lot of change, but the change is often for the better, which means when you're going through the destructive event, it feels like hell. But, there's a silver lining.
Yeah.
Really comes through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to say that Ketu, I like Ketu and Swati. Like you said, dance and music being really big. Ketu in this nakshatra, professional dancers, professional musicians. These people are it's like intuitive dance where like you're dancing, but it's also like a manifestation of your feelings, like like all this kind of performance art and things like that. It's an enjoyable life for Ketu and Swati.
Strippers too. I just thought I would bring it up because it's true. Exotic dancers, strippers, belly dancers.
Yeah, which leads me to my next point, which makes complete sense and is especially true for Ketu, little bit true for Rahu, that Swati Nakshatra people can keep the company of some lowly individuals. That doesn't mean that all of your friends, if you have Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, are lowly individuals, but maybe you have some friends who are criminals. Maybe you have some friends who are drug dealers. Maybe you have some friends who do a little bit of this on the side, do a little bit of that on the side. And that just tends to be a trend with Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra.
It's like, because I think that Rahu likes to dabble in it. They don't want to do it, but it's like, you know, like for me, if I do readings for really like people that were in jail, like I love that, you know, so it's more of a, because you're not going to do it, but you want to know why. And you're all, you know, so it's kind of like you want that. Like I want I would like to have mafia. I would like to have mafia, you know, know-ins. Like I want to have connections everywhere. And that's kind of like, that's, I don't know, politicians, Swati, but then we're going to go into Vishakha. This is a very interesting one. This one's very hard for me to like, I'm curious. I can't wait to get to Vishakha because
let's jump right into it. So Vishakha Nakshatra, it's really powerful. And this is my moon and Venus Nakshatra.
Your moon is in this?
Yeah.
Is it in Libra?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't get along with the Vishakha Scorpios. I don't know why. They drive me nuts. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I got the moon and Venus and Libra together at the same degree.
Okay.
In 23 degree. So this is depending on what side of it. Is there a little feedback on my mic? Can you hear that?
No, I don't hear anything. It sounds good.
Okay, hold on. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I hear it. I don't know why. Let me just try to correct it.
Oh. That's so funny. Your moon's in this.
Yeah, moon and Venus.
That's so funny.
Depending on what side, Venus, Jupiter, or Mars, Jupiter, depending on what side of it you're on. When I told Dr. Harness that my Venus and moon were in this nakshatra, he said, you have the power to manifest anything you want within reason.
Oh, that's funny.
And it has the spiritual power of achievement of various diverse successes in life. So not just one area of life will the person be successful in, not just one area of life will the person be successful in. They're kind of like a Renaissance person, which means they're good in many different areas of life. The lord of this is Indra and Agni. Indra, the deva of transformation, and Agni, the deva of fire. This activates a certain karma of incredible potential to achieve any aspiration or meet any goal. The ability to transform and activate. The positive, I'm sorry, my headphones have some feedback. You can't hear that?
No, but I know what you mean when you hear that. It drives you nuts. I don't hear anything. Does everybody else hear an echo? Does anybody else hear anything? I don't hear anything.
Does anyone else hear it?
No, I don't know. Nobody's saying anything, so I guess not.
Okay.
Oh, they're saying they hear a delay, but that's, you know.
Okay.
Now they're saying they hear it. I don't hear anything. So I don't know.
Should I try to come back in real quick?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear feedback with me? It's not on my end, is it? I have a microphone. I don't need to mute. I'm fine. Yeah, so Vishakha is an interesting nakshatra. Wait, I might have to.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry about that.
I don't hear anything. I didn't hear anything before, though. So everybody said sound is good.
Okay, great. Awesome. I'm sorry about that.
Oh.
So the positive energies of Vishakha, it's a good position for Rahu. It's a more difficult position for Ketu. Success over time is the big theme that shows up with Vishakha. A lot of power, enthusiasm, devotion, faith, positivity, optimism. Vishakha natives will achieve their goals and prosperity long as they never give up. It's important that they do not give up. People with Rahu in this nakshatra are more likely to give up, which means ultimately it does take a lot of work even though you're able to achieve many success, many aspirations, it doesn't come without a long time of hard work. That's one of the key things of Vishakha. So Rahu people in this nakshatra, they might, especially on the Scorpio side of it, they might give up if things don't work out for them in the beginning. But Vishakha natives will always achieve their goals. On the negative side of it, Rahu in this nakshatra, Ketu in this nakshatra can be very jealous, very unrealistic about things in general, like angry, discontent, argumentative, stubborn, controlling, dominating, or trying to control another individual.
Radicals.
Definitely, especially Ketu here.
I've noticed both. The politicians that are on the left, definitely there's a heavy this can be in their chart, like a Rahu or Ketu in this, where it's extreme.
Yeah.
And mainly though, like in the Scorpio side, like it's weird because I've noticed the Scorpio side is so much worse. It's like the Libra side is tends to be more like more open and, nice. And yours works well, probably because there's Venus there too, so that moon Venus is just really nice and optimistic. I would have never guessed you were that type of, swear to God, I wouldn't have, but musicians too, in music, I've noticed that.
Yeah. The Rahu in this position, it's very good for material success, but they might do it by immoral means. So it might not be ultimately what's going to be best. It's difficult for marital status. So like, even though Rahu in this position, I wanted to mention that Rahu on the Scorpio side of Vishakha Nakshatra is debilitation.
Oh, that makes total sense. Absolutely. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think it's debilitating.
That's like my nightmare chart, like a Rahu, Scorpio in the first house, Vishakha. Like I wouldn't want to do a reading for that person. I really struggle with Rahu readings. You know that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna send them to you.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
But Rahu people might not, Rahu people are always maybe looking for something specific to hear.
They want answers that they're not going to get from that K2 person, Yeah.
And also the K2 person is there to hurt the ego of the Rahu, not hurt the ego of the Rahu person, but humble the Rahu person a little bit. And Rahu people don't like to be humbled.
Right.
unless they're in Capricorn or Aquarius, maybe.
Yeah. True. Yes, very true. Very, very true. I could talk about this all day long. Oh my God. Yeah.
So difficulties with father when Rahu is in Vishakha.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Difficulties with the stomach. And the fateful degree is 2, which means in Libra, the 22nd degree is very difficult for Rahu. K2, it's difficult for the confidence. It's difficult for the mental stability. They're vulnerable to immoral actions. They're very creative. And it's good for a minimalistic spiritual path or a path of renunciation.
Yeah. But it can be like that twisted leader with K2 there because, K2 Jupiter conjunction reminds me of like the Pope. It can be very good too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when I think of certain charts of like politicians and stuff and certain that do not so ethical things, children type of stuff, like,
yeah.
That's what I've noticed.
And you can see that vulnerability to a moral action with Ketu or Rahu in this nakshatra.
Right.
Actually, all planets, even Venus in this nakshatra, could be vulnerable to making a little money through criminal action. There is some temptation here with this nakshatra.
Right.
Yeah, it's really powerful for investigators, especially Rahu in this nakshatra on the Scorpio side. They're the perfect private detective.
Yeah.
Scientist, counselor,
Yeah.
and life coach.
I've also noticed like marketing people. For some reason, like marketing people and they want the easy, fast money.
With Rahu?
Yeah. Yeah, not Ketu. Not Ketu, Rahu.
Yeah, I could definitely see Rahu in this nakshatra being into finance and that whole world.
Right. And then on the Scorpio side, I've noticed a lot of designers, like really good designers. So a lot of artists come out of that. Yeah. Or people that put you in those Ponzi schemes, like but they're not really, but they sell you on selling that idea. Okay. Perfect example. I haven't even looked at this guy's chart, but I guarantee you 150% that the man that started Nexium, he has planets in that. I guarantee you he has some sort of something in that. That's what it reminds me of.
I know what you mean. Like that scientist, investigator.
Yeah. The psychologist that's going to get people to follow them, like people that get people to, the ones that start cults and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even like
I could definitely see that because they could achieve whatever they want with Rahu in this nakshatra. It's a temptation towards sorcery.
Right. And it's like having Rahu on Jupiter because it's Jupiter.
Yeah. And Ketu has confidence problems in this nakshatra, and Ketu has mental balance problems in this nakshatra.
That makes complete sense. Yeah. Ketu Jupiter is hard. Like that's, I've seen a lot of people who struggle with that.
Yeah, because that's so like spiritual.
Yeah. And if they're not at all, like Ketu, Jupiter, and Virgo, I tend to get that a lot with people. Yeah, and I tell them to learn astrology because they like to investigate.
Totally.
God, this is so fun. Okay.
So Anuradha nakshatra, did you say, do you have a planet there?
K2 is in there, yes.
Okay, awesome. Let me make sure I wrote something good for that.
No, you tell it like it is, because I'm going to be honest. And honestly, I'll tell you, K2 and Anuradha is not freaking easy. Okay, this is my first house. I have it conjunct Mars. Mars is in Jyeshtha and Uranus. Like, can you talk about any more extreme of a human being? I mean, that's intense.
It's very intense. It's a Mars-Saturn vibration in Anuradha, and it has the spiritual power of devotion and worship. The power and reward that comes with devotion and worship. Two gods. One is Mitra. Mitra is the god of friendship, community, and partnership. Activates karma of good interaction between fellow human beings. So a really positive kind of energy between you and fellow humans. So people who have this karma in their chart, it emphasizes having good friends, having a community, and being a part of the community. You have Ketu in this nakshatra. One of the things that you do is that you build a community.
But but still hate it. Like there are days where I can't stand talking to people, and that's K2. Like, get me away. Like, I don't even want to talk to the people ever. Like, sometimes I want to just go crawl in a hole and not talk to anybody.
Definitely.
That's K2.
I jumped into the YouTube chat before we came back from the break and just saw everyone interacting and everything, and there was this real beautiful like community energy.
because I feel like this, I'll bring like the community of like the truth people, like the people that want the investigators. Like, you know, a lot of people that came to my channel were from a conspiracy channel that were really religious. I was really religious. You know, I went to Christian schools. I used to try to speak in tongues. Like I went through that phase. So there's like, but I'm an investigator. I like to know shit. And most people here do. And that's why if they learn astrology, it's like, God, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think new subscribers that I had, they teach me things. They're like, but then we're all know-it-alls, right? So we all, that's like the thing. Sometimes K2, I think K2 and Anuradha has issues with relationships. There you go. That's what the problem is.
It's very difficult for relationships, but it's a good karma interaction. Like when people that you connect through Anuradha Nakshatra are going to have a better chance at having a good interaction with each other. So like if you put two people into connection with each other because of Anuradha Nakshatra and Ketu and everything, they're very likely to have a good interaction with each other from the blessing of Mitra. So it supports friendship, community, and individual dependence and success. K2 is always our past lifetime karma. So you don't want anything to do with that because you've been doing that for many, many lifetimes. But that doesn't stop you from doing it in this one.
Right.
And then Radha, who's Krishna's wife, is also one of the gods of Anuradha Nakshatra. And that's pure devotion to the divine, which is that worship of Krishna. Which means people with this nakshatra, they give their complete faith and they give their complete devotion to things. You know, for you and I, for you, maybe that's Jyotish.
Yeah. Right. It is.
Yeah. So
I would never stop. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks, you know, it's just, explain to me why I've never felt like a Krishna connection. It's always been Shiva, 100%. Like, you know, honestly, but I will say the first Indian guy that I dated, they kind of like, I met him when did all this too. He was heavy Krishna in his chart. Matter of fact, I think he had a tattoo of him on his arm. So it's kind of funny, but you know,
Rahu and Ketu are associated with Shiva. And when they're exalted in your chart, I think that gives a strong association with Shiva whenever Rahu and Ketu are strong.
Yeah.
And then Saturn is also Shiva. So your Saturn is exalted.
Yeah.
Swati Nakshatra.
Yeah.
And then that's Anuradha is Saturn Nakshatra. So I think there's a lot of things in your chart which might give emphasis to Shiva over any other deva.
Yeah, like on that app that Dr. Arjun Pai has on Cosmic Insights, I think it's 60% Shiva energy. So even though like the calculations per my nakshatras are 60% Shiva energy.
Cool.
Yeah.
On a positive side, Anuradha Nakshatra, especially Ketu here, rises like a phoenix from the ashes. The profound ability to prosper and grow through adversity. But that doesn't mean there's any growth without adversity. This Rahu and Ketu in this nakshatra, they can be very determined, very steadfast, very courageous. They love to travel and experience foreign cultures and foreign lands. They have a good organizing and directing ability. They're very friendly. They're good in a group. The downside of this, especially Rahu, can be very difficult, dominating, controlling, fearful, stubborn, jealous, aggressive, pushy, discontent, and gloomy. They kind of look at the cup half empty and are very pushy about their feelings and opinions about things. Rahu, this is difficult for the health and difficult for relationship. Rahu, it's debilitated.
Yeah.
So narcissistic and, you know, they're usually, so Rahu and Scorpio and Anuradha people, they always believe in the minority about something.
Right.
Like they're, they're like nihilists.
Yeah, you're right.
Or anarchists.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, they are. You're right. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, K2 and Scorpio, let's just say, people here, I share a lot, right? But the people the stories that I've told about me, it's only about 1%. Okay. I have a whole secret side. And that's one thing that I can say that K2 and Scorpio, like K2 and Scorpio in Anuradha, I don't care what nakshatra it's in, it's got us, it's just hides it better. That's the truth.
Yeah. Difficult for K2. It's good for them being like intelligent and educated about whatever they want to study, but can sometimes delay the position success. And it's said to often cause a change in home and residence. So it can sometimes make you move unexpectedly and things like that.
I've moved about 700 times throughout my entire life. Like even as a child, kids, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, that's for sure. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I get bored.
I feel like Rahu in this nakshatra, private detective, investigator. They even could be working the tourism or hospitality industry.
Mm-hmm.
And Ketu in this nakshatra, like a community organizer, civil servant, someone who develops a community, and you could even say leads a community, but develops and creates a community.
I will say though, eventually I would like to be a private investigator and use astrology with it for it. So there's that too in K2, but that could be my Mars.
I definitely think that's K2, which is really good for private. It's also very good for private. In another manifestation, you would have been a great detective or a crime scene investigator, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love it. Obsessed. I listen to police scanners all day. You know that. I think I told you that.
Yeah, I know. Cool. So Jyeshtha?
Good old Jyeshtha.
This is my sun in Mercury.
It is?
Yeah.
That's why we get along so well. Because I like Jyeshtha has such a bad rap, I think, and it's not necessarily always true. Yeah, like it actually kind of annoys me when people talk about Jyeshtha and they're like, oh, it's this and it's that and it's this. I don't agree. I don't.
I have a lot of nice things to say about Jyeshtha.
Good.
It's a Mars and Mercury vibration. Its spiritual power is to defeat one's enemies. So rock on, you got nothing. And also gain strength in battle, which means when a conflict comes, I get stronger. So that's a really positive thing as well. So the power to defeat one's enemies and gain strength in battle. I'll take it.
Yeah.
The Deva is Indra, the Deva of Devas, the chief of all of the gods, who's the divine warrior. He activates a karma, the winning of any battle, which means any conflict in your life, you can remedy it through determination, power, and your blessings of the divine. If you have the divine on your side, anything is possible. But with Jyeshtha Nakshatra, all you need is enough determination and power. The positive energies, especially Rahu in this nakshatra being debilitated, can be very challenging. But Ketu in this nakshatra can have a very spiritual like a leader, a spiritual leader kind of energy. Jyeshtha means eldest, like senior. So the one who deserves the most praise, powerful, courageous, determination, brilliant. They're very logical, rational, because Mercury is the ruling planet here. They're very analytical, and they're creative and innovative. When Rahu is in this nakshatra, it can bring out the darker side of this nakshatra, just like with any nakshatra. If it's the right planet in that nakshatra, it brings out the good qualities of that nakshatra. If it's the wrong planet in the nakshatra, it also brings out the wrong qualities of that nakshatra. So people might give Jyeshtha a bad rap because they've had difficult interactions with people with Jyeshtha who are in the wrong position.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mercury in its own position here might be a favorable interaction. But Rahu, destructive in this nakshatra, greedy, very egotistical, like, and there's a sly sketchiness with Rahu in this nakshatra, like, I'm gonna get away with this and no one's gonna know. And you know, they're very like deceiving, deceptive, and they're unforthcoming. They're dishonest. They're not completely honest. Arrogant. They like to disagree. Like they like to, yeah.
They're like your debating freaking nightmare. They think they know everything.
They'll disagree with you even if they believe the same thing.
Right. Yes. That's so true. Oh my God. I swear some of the trolls that I guarantee you, like the trolls that troll on here are like that. That's probably what they have. So you have Sun and Mercury and Jyeshtha.
Mm-hmm.
What house?
10th.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right. Because you're oh, of course. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's good. See, and I think that's what kind of balances your Aquarian self out, right?
I think so too. There's a huge side of me that's fiery from that.
Yeah. You have a side to you that's like interesting. That's so okay, I have to ask because so Ketu, first of all, we were talking about Donald Trump earlier. Donald Trump has moon conjunct Ketu in Jyeshtha. That's why. And when people say the moon's debilitated in Scorpio, I mean, I see that, I guess, but I don't necessarily always. I just think it's somebody that, you know, is emotionally goes through some ups and downs, you know. What are your thoughts on that? That moon Ketu in Jyeshtha with Donald Trump?
Ketu in Jyeshtha is one of the most favorable positions for Ketu in the whole all nakshatra. It supports, so you could say that Donald Trump having that is some past lifetime karmic credit.
Yeah.
And it supports career and it supports international relationships. That's
why he's swinging deals and making people happy. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, obviously there's some downs, but yeah. And
it also supports financial success, friendship. And it means the sport and entertainment industries will tend to like you as well. So that's why they can, you know, celebrity stuff.
Yeah. Until he became the president.
Yeah. It's either good for business or religion, but not both.
Right. Yeah. I guarantee you Donald Trump sees an astrologer. I have a feeling he does.
Rahu is debilitated here.
So question. So you probably are like mixed about him. Right? Would you say you kind of have like both sides where you feel like mixed about him?
Yeah, I'm like observant, you know, and I'm just like, you know, it is what it is. And I'm fascinated.
Right. Yeah. It's a good way to keep it. Yeah. That's that Libra moon. No. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't vote in the last election.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to vote in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know how.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, because your chart, like now that you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking like you have to have a mixed bag with that feeling, like with, you know, having certain alignments similar to certain similar things, but, you know, and certain nakshatras obviously gel well better than others, you know, so it's interesting.
I feel like with the Libra, sometimes I'm always seeing both sides of things and trying to find some middle ground and not like thinking it as two different sides.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I do think though, you're right. Rahu and Jyeshtha is a nightmare. Definitely.
And good thing about Rahu and Jyeshtha, members of the opposite gender will be deeply attracted to you. But again, that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, right.
It shows that maybe the person you're attracted to, maybe you wish they weren't attracted to you.
Yeah.
Or maybe it could attract someone to you who's abusive.
Yeah.
It's difficult with family relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They're really out in left field with their ideas with Rahu in this nakshatra.
Yeah, that can really bring out the Scorpio side that's dark. Because there is such a dark side to Scorpio. I mean, let's just be real. So, especially, I mean, I think Jyeshtha tends to be more of the, like, and Vishakha, I have to say Vishakha too. You know, Vishakha, Anuradha, not so much, but Vishakha and Jyeshtha, I can say Rahu can really do some damage.
Ketu's excellent here, and I think the fact that Donald Trump has this position shows that he earned it, but not necessarily in this lifetime. But he might have earned it. It's like I don't know. He was supposed to be successful in all of the areas of his life just from having Ketu and Jyeshtha.
Yeah, and Magha is ascendant with Mars.
Totally.
That's like good past life karma, right?
From your ancestors.
From your ancestors, but it comes with a price. You know, it's like, you know, it's a mixed bag with some other, because he's got Saturn and Venus in the 12th house of hidden enemies and in Cancer. It's like there's a lot of dicey things that, but the more he's got so much power, like he thrives on that shit.
But if he has Ketu in this nakshatra, he can defeat all of his enemies.
It's so, I say, like, he is 15 steps ahead of everybody. People think they can pull one over on him. Like, you can't. He's like, Ketu Moon in Jyeshtha is like one of the most, in my opinion, smartest individual. Like, you're this is like a joke to you. A joke. Emotionally, he's a tank. I mean, who can take so much, any person, I don't care, even if you're, you know, to take so much criticism and so much hate and so much like negativity and still do what he's doing is pretty remarkable.
When Rahu and Ketu are truly exalted, hate makes you stronger.
Yeah. And think of that. So, and Rahu, I say, like, when people try to say, oh, tropical astrology or whatever, I'm like, he's not his 10th house, Taurus. Come on. I mean, you know, like Sun in Taurus, Rahu, that's him. All about money, period. He's not a Gemini sun. No way. He's Mercury's in Gemini in the 11th house. Yeah.
I knew he was going to win as soon as I looked at his chart and then the election chart.
Yeah. I was so nervous though, because you just never know.
It's just, it was fixed. Not in a negative way. It was aligned. It was aligned.
He was aligned. I think he had some karmic protection that just like, because I think he was even surprised. Did you see his face? He was like, every one of them were like, like, oh shit, what did we get ourselves into? I think he still thinks that to this day. Yeah. So do you think, all right, well, we've been on here long enough, for God's sakes. We've been on here for 2 hours. It's so fun. But next 9 nakshatras will be next. Hopefully we can get to it sooner than as long as it took us to do this one.
Definitely. I think we can do that, and then we can work on some new projects.
That's right. Yeah. So this was fun as usual. So make sure you subscribe, please, to his channel. I'm going to put it again, one more in the chat right now. Oh, that just put the Zoom meeting in there. That's a great idea. Also, I know, do you want to say like everything that you do? Because you do a ton of different things besides just, you know, readings. You do healing. Why don't you give some spiel on everything that all your gifts?
So, my name is Kṣaṇāti. I devoted my life to Jyotish and Vedic astrology, and anyone who's interested in any sort of Jyotish work, you can reach out to me. I do karmic evolution. We focus on your karmic evolution, achieve dharma, artha, kama, moksha. I also do astrocartography, which is geography. I do lots of gemstone work for astrological gems. And I do lots of remedy, how to improve our spiritual relationship with the different planets. And lots of exciting webinars of research with astrocartography. Now I'm doing the how to improve our karma with the various nakshatras. 3 weeks ago, I released how to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. And then October 25th, this is with Saptarishi. And then October 25th, I'm doing how to improve your karma with Bharani Nakshatra, where we just talk about the nakshatra for 4 hours, from its karma and its history and its lessons and its remedy and different celebrities and historical and spiritual figures who have planets in that nakshatra and how to understand that. And so that's really fun. My website's jyotishastrology.org, and you can always reach out to me there. Thanks so much, Heidi.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great week. Just make sure I get this off here.